Welcome back to the Andrew Finney Show, where we help you make real estate. My name is Andrew Finney with King Realty in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, and I'm pleased to have you here today. A couple of quick ground rules. Number one, you're in a safe place, so please be respectful and be polite. Number two, there is no such thing as a stupid question. If you're thinking it, please ask it. Simply use the chat box to go ahead and ask your question. What we do is we'll go over the last week's comments and questions that came in on the channel. We'll address each of those in turn with the questions that you have as you're here with us today. Again, thank you for being here, and let's get started. So before we get into the questions about what came in over the last week, I'd like to share something with you. I'd met with a really great family that found me on YouTube over the weekend, and they were having a really interesting conversation with me about their overall situation, their concerns about getting a loan pre-approval letter, and how much home they should afford. So when we're looking at that, there's so many different considerations that come up. They're currently renting and they're trying to figure this out. So I got them in touch with a great local loan officer over here, Bill Marin with New American Funding. He's working with them to help them get their loan pre-approval. But other interesting things came up in the conversation, and probably you could feel like this too, especially if you're renting right now. So it's almost like being in between a rock and a hard place. Do you save up more money for a down payment? Do you save up more money for your buyer closing costs? Do you use down payment assistance programs, home as possible type programs, with the understanding that the majority of down payment assistance and home as possible programs will actually come with a higher interest rate by the way those programs are designed. Since they're coming up and offering you money for your down payment, that's why you're going to have the trade-off in the rate of your mortgage interest. The program has to pay for itself, right? And when you have a higher interest rate, it also is going to increase your monthly mortgage on the same home that you want to buy. So when we were having this conversation, keeping in mind that I'm not a loan officer, but I do obviously know how to use a mortgage calculator extremely well. We were going over the financial situation, looking at their debt to income ratios, how much money they might be able to qualify for, pending verification from Bill Marin's office over there with their loan pre-approval, right? So what was really interesting is the fact that, what they'd really like to buy is probably a little bit high for them. And if they can get approved, it really stretches their debt to income ratio. So when we're talking about the debt to income ratios, I'd like to point out there's a couple of different ones. There's what's called a front end debt to income ratio, which is essentially taking the estimated monthly mortgage, being the principal, the interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance, and dividing it into the gross annual income for whomever is applying for the loan. Now, in this case, they're married, so probably both of them. So when you divide that number into it, it gives you what's called a front end debt to income ratio. And then there's what's called a back end debt to income ratio. That's the one that I normally like to call the lifestyle ratio. So that's taking into account what the monthly mortgage is going to be in addition to any liabilities and debts like car notes, student loans, credit cards, any child support, alimony payments, anything like that, getting totaled into everything combined, right? So that's the back end debt to income ratio. It's that back end debt to income ratio that I, as a trusted real estate advisor, pay extremely close attention to and like to share wise counsel with the families that I help so they can make well-informed decisions just like you that are here with us today. So when we're talking about the back end debt to income ratio, a lot of the programs might enable you to go to 50%, in some cases 55%. But notice a moment ago when we were talking about the annual income, we're talking about the gross amount. So what concerns me is whenever people say they want to buy a house and we look at their debt to income ratios and they're up to that 50% mark, slightly higher or really close to that 50% mark, where I get concerned as a trusted real estate advisor is what is their financial position going to look like in the future? Because one thing to think about, if you have 50% of your income going towards your housing expenses for your monthly mortgage, meaning principal, interest, property taxes, homeowners insurance, plus any of your debts and liabilities like your credit cards and your car notes and such like that we covered a moment ago. The one thing that we haven't added into that whole figure just yet is the amount that Uncle Sam's going to want from you at the end of the year in your taxes. So if you're paying between like 15 or 25%, let's say that you had 25% due in annual taxes off of your income, that means that your true ratio for the overall amount of income that you have is 75%. If you have 75% of your income servicing debts and also servicing, obviously, the IRS payments, right? That leaves you with 25% of your annual income to live on for your food, for your gas, for any child care programs that you might have, or to eat and all that fun stuff, right? And the question really remains, Can you live on that 25%? Now, I can't answer that question. Only you can answer that question, but it's something that I wanted to share with you to give you a different insight and a different perspective as you're thinking about how much home you should buy. So if you're wondering, Andrew, well, that's well and good, but now I'm kind of discouraged. It's not about being discouraged. It's about replacing that fear, that false evidence appearing real with facts, and coming up with a game plan. And the reason that I say that is because it's really important to take note. What happens if you're renting for like $1,000 a month? And that $1,000 a month is adding up to $12,000 a year. That's $12,000 a year that you'll never see again. And I know that in their case, they have shared with me some of the information that Dave Ramsey has shared on his channel with mortgages and his suggestions and recommendations. And to no discredit of Dave Ramsey, I think he does a phenomenal job of a lot of the content that he creates. And I think that he's helping millions of people make extremely wise decisions. However, when it comes to real estate in specific, I don't totally agree with him. And I believe that he's actually a little bit out of touch. The reason that he'd be out of touch is that he normally recommends that you do a 20% down payment on a 15-year fixed rate mortgage. Here's the thing. That's extremely difficult for the majority of Americans. I was reading a report recently where they said that the average American has roughly $4,000 to $5,000 saved in the bank. So if you're going to be buying a $300,000 home and you need 20% down for Dave Ramsey's logic to work here, that's $60,000. So how does one go from $5,000 in the bank to accruing another $55,000? As I had this conversation with a wonderful couple this last weekend, I had asked them that. I said, how long would it realistically take you to save up a 20% down payment for the amount of home you're looking for? And they said, oh my God, Andrew, it'd probably take us like 10 years. I was like, well, now we're talking about the opportunity cost of time and the principles of time value money here. So when we're talking about the opportunity cost of time, if you look at it and you have $1,000 a month going to rent, at $12,000 a year, multiplied by 10 years, that's $120,000. We know that statistically on a 100-year average, real estate will continue to appreciate roughly 3% a year. Obviously, in recent years, we've seen a really robust appreciation, and now we're starting to see the market stabilize. All the same, what we're looking at statistically is 3% annual increase. To make this simple, I won't go into the compounding equations of compounded interest and increasing for the purpose of this example. But if we say they wanted to buy a $300,000 home and real estate statistically appreciates 3% annually by 10 years, let's just do easy math, keeping in mind this actual figure would be higher if I was going through and compounding the numbers for you. I'm likely to make a whiteboard video in the future about breaking this down that'll really illustrate the point that I'm trying to make here, okay? So if we did that, that would give us 30%. 30% of 300,000 is how much? It's $90,000. So that means that 10 years into the future, after they've already wasted $120,000 a month, or excuse me, $120,000 in total for the last 10 years of rent, the same home that they were wanting to buy and they were working to save a 20% down payment for is now not $300,000, but $390,000. If they were planning on saving 20% for the down payment of a $300,000 home, they weren't planning on it for a near $400,000 house, right? So that's where getting your foot in the door. Now, that first home that you're going to buy, is it going to be everything that you want it to be? Probably not. And I just want to shoot straight with you. You know me, especially if you've been watching my channel for a while now, or if you're new to my channel, you'll quickly realize that I keep it real and I keep it 100 just to share it with you. It's about getting your foot in the door. That first home doesn't have to be the perfect home for you, but by getting your foot in the door, what are you doing? You're no longer wasting money on rent. Now, if that first home as opposed to a $300,000 home was a $200,000 home, right? And let's use the same time frame and the same appreciation rate. That means over 10 years that home would be roughly worth $260,000. At the same time, excuse me, that family would have paid down about $120,000 towards the principal and interest balance on that residence. If that's the case, do you think that they now have enough money to do a 20% 15-year fixed rate mortgage if they so desired when they sell that property and get the home that they really want? Absolutely they would. So that's where I'd like to share that information with you. I really thought it was important to share with you. I hope you took a lot from that illustration and example, and that you can share that with other people that you know that are trying to make a well-informed decision as well, in addition to yourself if you're currently looking to buy a home. With that, let's go ahead and get into our last week's comments. So we had Corre Adickes that had reached out to us after watching Tenants and commented, is it right for you? And Corey says, I was hoping you can help me and my friend with a question. Please, if you can. My friend is a tenant in common with his brother and 2 cousins. All 4 of them inherited their grandparents' house when they passed away. The house is paid off, so bills and taxes are the only expense. The house is rented out to 2 residents. The lease was made by the friend's cousin. The rent is split between all grandchildren. My friend was raised by his grandparents in this house along with his brother. Basically, his grandparents were his parents. Now my friend wants to move back into the house and obviously not receive his share of the rent. The others are not happy about this. Can my friend do this? Can he move into the house? So Corey, thank you so much for asking that question. It's actually a really powerful question and one that I think that will be very beneficial to a lot of people watching today and after this live stream. So Corey, what essentially happens here is that lease agreement sounds like it was made by the friend's cousin. Depending on how that was adjudicated when they took possession as tenants in common as joint beneficiaries of their grandparents' residence when they passed away, will ultimately dictate on who may be the executor or who may have majority share of that property. If it's completely balanced, then any rental agreement made should have been to the agreement of all parties that have interest in that property. So your friend included with his cousins as well, right? So here comes the thing. A rental agreement is going to have to be honored. So even though he has ownership and he does have the right to live in one of those properties, if the rental agreement specifies that the person or people that are renting that property currently have right to that full entire property, he can't just jump in there because that rental agreement has to be agreed upon by the tenant and the landlords, which are the 4, which is your friend, his brother, and his 2 cousins in this case, right? So could he do that whenever the rental agreement renewed? Or could you approach the tenants and ask them if that would be an acceptable situation for them by also reducing the monthly rent by the amount of the bedroom that your friend would be occupying? Yes, you could do that. But if you're renting a property, I want to put this back in your court. If you were renting a property and this was a situation that you were approached with, would you personally be amenable to the idea of somebody that you don't know coming to live in a property that you and your family are residing in? Right? So, I mean, obviously you probably are thinking, no, or well, maybe, but kind of not, right? And that's okay. That would be a completely normal and logical feeling to have. At the same time, what we would like to see here is the rental agreement honored, because it needs to be honored, whatever was agreed upon. And yes, you could approach them, just have a mindset of they're probably not going to be so inclined to want that. At the same time, whenever that rental contract does expire, that would be a time to renegotiate if that's what he would like to do. It's something to think about, something to consider. Now, Corey, depending on what happens with the situation, I'd love to hear back from you and see how this plays out for your friend and see and learn what happens with the situation so we can update everybody on the channel and help everybody continue to learn and grow that might be in a similar situation. So Corey, thank you so much for that question, and I really appreciate the details that you provided there. Mohan Gadhe had watched What is a Property Lien and says, yay, thank you. Gives me a little smiley face. So thank you, Mohan, for watching the video. Glad you enjoyed it. toyZer had watched What is a Home Appraisal? 7 Facts to Know. toyZer brought up some pretty good questions here too. So toyZer says, hi, it was so helpful. It was a very helpful video for me, but I'm buying a property and there is a tow easement on a ½ acre and the listing agent didn't say anything about it. I went to the county and found it out myself. Question is, does the appraiser know that or not? Thanks for helping me. So toyZer, thank you for watching the channel and thank you for your wonderful question. In short, yes, the appraiser is going to know about any easements, assessments, or liens against that property, and they'll probably specify it in the report as that as well. Another thing to consider and to think about is to talk to your buyer agent that's representing your best interest in this. Contact the title company. The title company will also have a preliminary title report ready to go with that property. In the preliminary title report, again, it will show any judgments, easements, or anything to do with that property, liens against that property, so that you can make a well-informed decision and you'll be able to know exactly what's going on with that property moving forward if you choose to continue with that property. It should have absolutely been disclosed by the listing agent. For some reason, maybe the listing agent didn't know, or they didn't pull a preliminary title report prior to listing it. And if you're an agent watching this at some point and you're getting ready to list a property, it's always a wise idea to pull a preliminary title report and to have a very good conversation with the owners of a property before you list it to make sure that you disclose adequately anything and everything going on with that property to help buyers make a decision. Okay, so thank you, toyZer, for that. Really appreciate the great question there. And obviously, I'll be hitting you up after the live stream, letting you know to tune in this part of it to get your answer to your question. Missy had watched 5 ways to spot a lemon house. Missy says, don't ever buy a house as is, as in no recourse, no responsibility of anyone previously. It's all you. Unless you have endless money and are prepared to demolish the house and rebuild it from scratch. Wow, Missy, thank you so much for watching that and sharing your passion with us about what you feel about the as-is type property. And in reality, you hit the nail on the head. When someone buys a property as is, you're absolutely right. There is no recourse and no responsibility of anyone previously that has owned that property, hence the as-is sell. You would be assuming ownership for that property in as-is condition. So whatever happened to it before, there's no liability of anybody else if you agree to those terms. And yes, anything that might be good or bad with that property is now all on the person that buys it. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with us about that, Missy. Greatly appreciate that. Nancy's Pearl had watched 8 things not to say when buying a house. Nancy says, it's all about energy. So Nancy, I hope you find all my videos energetic and enjoy them all. Thank you so much for watching, by the way. So then we have Jackie Vickrey watched Making an Offer on a House. Jackie said, most important to me was recognizing the large number of factors that go into making an offer to the seller. Thank you for another great video, and thank you, Vicky, for watching the channel and taking so much out of that video. Yes, we really broke it out in that video about different terms, different variables, different considerations, and the way they maneuver a contract around when you're making an offer on a property. So if you're in a position right now where you're learning how to make an offer or thinking about making an offer on a property or just getting started with the home buying process, that's a good video for you to pay attention to about negotiation strategy and maneuvering terms, and something that you'd want to have a conversation with your trusted real estate advisor wherever you are right now that you're working with. And of course, if you need help finding one, just let me know. Contact info is below. So then we had Tenecia Echols that had watched Buying a New Home Construction 20 Tips to Build Time. Tenecia says, well, I guess I should have watched this video beforehand. I already signed a contract for a new construction. Everything you stated has been right on. I was offered a nice incentive. However, since the property was already started and the roof was on, I have not been permitted to make any changes. They have standard white cabinets and I don't like them. However, it is not a deal breaker. There is a frame there, but not much else. Any suggestions? Is it too late at this point to get a realtor? I'm using their loan company, but I have not started the loan process yet. What are my options? Thank you. Tenecia, thank you so much for watching that video and taking specific note of the different details that I provided in that episode. So first of all, if you're already in contract with a new home construction, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to have your own trusted real estate advisor work with you at that point moving forward. When you go into a new construction, it's extremely important to make sure that you have your trusted real estate advisor with you on the very first visit. If for some reason you find yourself in a new construction without a trusted real estate advisor, then it's extremely important to make sure that you don't sign up or register for anything. But with your case, you said that you're already in contract, so it's really too late to even entertain having your own trusted real estate advisor represent your best interest at this point. Sorry about that, but that is the truth. So when we go into your next points about what could you do or any suggestions about where they are in the construction, if they're in the frame position, then you should be having a conversation with them about options. Because if the only thing that they have up is the frames, then there's a lot of things they could be able to modify if they're being honest with you. Ask them about design studio visits and ask them to work with you, or either opt out of the contract, understanding that you might lose your money depending on what you agreed to. So you want to go back and review the contract. If you have questions about it, you could always contact a real estate attorney to see what your options are in your area as well. When you're asking about their loan officer, you actually retain right to use whatever loan officer that you choose to use, whether it's the builder's preferred lender or an outside lender, with the understanding that the builder's incentives may not be offered to you if you work with an outside lender that's not their preferred lender. All the same, ultimately it's your decision, and just understand the pros and the cons of each decision-making process here. Those are absolutely wonderful questions, and I would definitely suggest that anybody watching, if you're looking at new construction, please have your own trusted real estate advisor go with you from the first visit to make sure that your best interest is upheld. Then we have Darrin Carter that have watched 9 things every new homeowner needs. And Darrin said, we close on Friday, November 30th, getting a new shop vac, 8 and 6 foot ladder, and I need to get on the roof and remove that old TV antenna. Well, Darrin, first of all, congratulations. You're getting ready to close here in a few days. Super excited for you and your family, and I feel the same way about those TV antennas as you do. I do the same thing right after closing on a house. If it has one, or if it even has one of those dish things on it, those things are the first things to go as soon as I close on a house too. So good on you. Glad that you took out 3 of the elements there for the 9 things that are going to be most impactful to you. Congratulations. Definitely excited for you, Darrin. Thank you for watching and sharing with us. MichaelMing had watched FHA appraisal, and MichaelMing says, how do FHA appraisers report the presence of mold and mildew on the exterior sidings of the house as well as the concrete perimeter fence walls? Michael, that's a fantastic question. I'm glad that you raised that question with us today. So when we're talking about appraisers, you know, whether it's FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional, right? An appraiser is an appraiser, and they're more than likely more than familiar with any of the lending guidelines and health and safety conditions of any of the loan types that a buyer may have. When you're talking about mold and mildew on the exterior sidings of a house, if it presents itself in a way that causes the appraiser to believe it's a health and safety condition, they will notate as such in their actual report and also apprise the listing agent and buyer agent that they believe that it's in a violation of a health and safety condition and needs to be remediated prior to the close of escrow. If that's the case, it becomes known as an appraisal with a condition, and that condition must be satisfied prior to close. If you're wondering what the verification step is, Michael, the verification step would be that the appraiser would then have to go back out after whatever condition was cleared or remediated to say, yes, it has been fixed, and yes, now the property can close at the property value that has been assigned to it by that appraiser. Now, if you're talking about mold or mildew on concrete perimeter fences, that sounds like it's going to be something unique to your state and local laws if that's going to be a requirement to be fixed, since it is on an actual fence. So that's something that you might want to discuss with a trusted real estate advisor near you and see how that pertains to your situation. All the same, thank you for your great question, and thank you for bringing that up today. Megan Sanders watches the truth about rapid rescoring for a mortgage and says, crap, I'm waiting on my rescore, hoping my 627 gets to a 640. I am so nervous because the loan officer advised me to pay off my last 2 credit cards. I did that instantly, but now I'm scared I paid it off too fast. Megan, it's okay. Take a deep breath, and I'm glad that you watched that video. So if you're working with a loan officer right now and that was their advice to you, then highly likely it's going to benefit you. A loan officer is always going to share information with you that's going to be of benefit to you and not your detriment. So if that's what you need to do to help your loan go through, and that's what needed to happen then. So hopefully everything works out for you, Megan, but just take a little peace of mind, have a conversation with your loan officer just to answer any additional questions you may have, but everything should be okay if that's your loan officer's advice. It's generally best to follow their advice. They know what they're doing and they know how to make things happen for you. It's really good though that you watched that video, and thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure there's millions of people out there right now going through the same situation that are just as concerned as you are, and I really admire the fact that you shared that with us today, Megan. Thank you. Mumbus27 had watched 8 Things Not to Save When Buying a House. Mumbus says, this brother is passionate and educational with his experience in this difficult business, and he served. Respect. Well, Mumbus, respect back at you, brother. I really appreciate you and your support. Seeing your name a few times in the comment section, and just wanted to say thank you. Really appreciate you being here and engaging with the content and us. Miss Perfectly Imperfect watched How to Create a Homeowner Journal, and Miss Perfectly Imperfect says, brilliant! I've been keeping an informal journal throughout the home buying process. Your videos are very comprehensive and helpful. Thanks a million, and thanks a million, Miss Perfectly Imperfect, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. For anyone watching, you might want to go back to How to Create a Homeowner Journal if you're in the home buying process, whether you own a property, thinking about selling it, or simply in home ownership mode. It is a journal that you will greatly benefit from by putting together. Now, again, all the details are in that video, different considerations that you could use, and different ways to lay it out to keep yourself organized with the most important documents that you'll ever have with your home. Then we have Andrew B. Andrew B watched How to Break a Lease to Buy a House. Andrew B says, if all else fails, just move out and don't do a forwarding address. These corporate landlords want as much money as possible and don't make it easy. Not that long ago, they just kept the deposit and life went on as long as you didn't destroy the place. Now they're writing 2 months rent termination fees into the lease, mandatory 60 days instead of 30 days so they can charge another month of rent. They're greedy. You're giving good advice for how to deal with a small business or individual, not these corporate landlords with multiple properties in multiple states. So Andrew B., thank you for sharing your observations with us and sharing your thoughts with us on that. You're absolutely right. You know, corporate rentals are going to be different than a small business rental, which is going to be different than somebody that privately owns property and rents them out. So you have to pay attention to those terms that you're agreeing to up front with a rental and make sure that you agree to it. If you don't agree to it, just tell them you don't agree to it and see if you can change the terms. And if they refuse to do that, then maybe you should just find a different rental with terms that you can agree to. At the same time, I certainly appreciate the updates, Andrew B., about what the rental market is doing as far as contracts are concerned, and greatly respect the fact that you share that information with us to help our community continue, learn, and grow together. Thank you. Juan Guillen had watched Beginner's Guide to Refinancing Your Mortgage and simply says, Semper Fi. Well, Juan, Semper Fi back to you, brother. Really appreciate your support and you watching that video. Please share it on with your Marines and those with your charge to go ahead and help them know how to make well-informed real estate decisions, and in that case, how to refinance a mortgage and the different things to consider. Juan, all the same, thank you so much, and Semper Fi. Andy, thank you for being here today. Andy says, hey, Andrew, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Wanted to share an update on my new construction issue regarding the permit taking so long. Great, Andy, let us know while you're typing that out. I'm going to go ahead and go into the next question. Look forward to those updates, Andy. Jvm Interior Design, watch closing costs for buyers, what you should know. JVM says, I was in escrow and the seller pulled out. I didn't hear anything about it until 4 days later, and on day 5, the property was back on the market. I'm so mad. JVM Interior. Now, that was like a one-line thing that you made for a comment, and I was really I'm still perplexed by it. You know, if you were in contract to buy a house and the seller pulls out, you would have either been given a notification through a cancellation addendum for that property. That's something that you might want to talk over with the trusted real estate advisor that you're working with that property, because you should have known right when the seller decided they wanted to pull out, and you would have needed to know why. Because the really curious thing here is that you told me that they put it back on the market. The question is, why did they put it back on the market? Did the appraisal come in low and there was a renegotiation going on or something? What were the circumstances of why the seller pulled out? Because it sounds very, very bizarre to me that a seller would pull out of a contract just to go back on the market when they already had you getting ready to purchase that home. Something doesn't sound right. Definitely please get with your trusted real estate advisor, investigate that a little bit further. Maybe you have some options or maybe you don't. But at the same time, if something doesn't sound right, that's not what should have happened or how it should have played out for you. And I'm sorry to hear that was what happened in your situation. All the same, thank you so much, JVM, for reaching out and sharing it with us. Please keep us updated about your home search and how things are working. And please feel free to let us know or comment on any of the other videos or reach out to me directly. Again, contact info below if you have any questions, and see what we can do to help you out. I really feel for you and your situation, and definitely wishing you the best in your home search and getting things ready to go. Okay, Andy, I see that you have hit me up with a few more comments. Thank you for that, Andy. So Andy says, I expressed my displeasure, and the next things you know, the permit was issued. Well, before any other applications sent around my same time. And now we have the pre-construction meeting this week. What's the most important question to ask the project manager? Okay, so let me back up a little bit here, Andy, from the top. Okay, want to share an update, new construction issue regarding the permit taking so long. You expressed your displeasure. I remember that from last week. Permit was issued. Okay, so when you're asking what would be an important question or some important questions I need to ask project manager, number one, you could continue asking them about where they are in the permit process, make sure they have all the necessary pulled permits ready to go. I know that that's a big concern to you, so that's one of the things that you could definitely ask about, or ask your trusted real estate advisor to get with them to see where they're on track with that. Come up with a definitive game plan based upon that information. So when you're talking about the pre-construction meeting, you want to make sure that all your options that you have in contract right now are there. Also make sure that you understand what the pricing at the design studio is going to be. Sometimes builders will give out a price sheet of options up front, and the prices are subject to change. So if you were already looking at that design studio pricing information, you've probably already been planning out what options that you want and what options you don't want. You want to know and get an updated figure on what it's going to cost you for those options. When you're also talking about pre-construction, you now also want to ask them, when are we going to be breaking ground on my house? And Andy, I would definitely suggest that you also let them know that you would like to have an independent home inspection done if that's something you would like to do. I definitely recommend people always have an independent home inspector. Now, a builder may not always like that, but it still is your right to have a third-party home inspector that needs to cooperate with the assistant superintendent and superintendent, project manager, whomever of that construction, just as an extra layer of eyes on your property. And they'll watch it, especially if you're in pre-construction right now. If you hire a home inspector familiar with new home construction, they'll be out there from the moment they break ground all the way to the day that you close on your new home, keeping everybody in line and reporting back to you with any findings they have. It can only add to additional peace of mind and security to you having that done. Now, the other things that you want to know is, okay, what are my most significant steps during the building process, and when will I need to be in attendance? Aside from the design studio visits, you'll specifically want to know, when is your frame walk scheduled, or do they have an estimated time frame for the frame walk? And then to make sure that you completely understand what the frame walk is. Now, I have made other videos, Andy, about frame walks. I actually went live. It was one of the first live videos I did over the summer, where I had just completed a frame walk with a client that was buying new construction. And after everybody had left, I went back in and kind of explained what we went over right there in a new home in the frame stage, and explaining some of the different things to look for and consider and what the purpose of a frame walk is. You may find that video very beneficial to you as you approach that. You also want to know when is the project completion date of the property. Now, I always suggest that you give a new builder 2 to 4 weeks after they say that it's going to be completed, just for timing considerations and flexibility. I have seen all too often new builders say they're going to close on a certain date, but things not be right until 2 to 4 weeks after the fact to be ready to close. So by providing yourself with a realistic 2 to 4 week barrier, or buffer, if you will, then you'll be better prepared for timing out your move into that new property. But most significantly, when you're talking about this current level where you are in the new construction, again, get an updated price sheet about the design studio. Again, make sure you understand when you're breaking ground and understand when the frame walk is going to be. Ask them for a detailed printout of the steps involved of purchasing your new home and the critical points that you need to be present for. And also, if you're it seems like you're very proactive, Andy, so you may be wanting to go out there and just look at your house periodically. Make sure that you're not getting in the workman's way. At the same time, make sure that you also understand what the policies are of that builder. Maybe you just need to go over to the sales office and get a hard hat and then go check it out, or maybe they'll go with you. All the same, make sure that you have that, and make sure you have the information to the assistant superintendent and also the superintendent that's overseeing the construction of your new home. So should you have questions, you can reach out directly to them. Now, what I'd like you to do, Andy, is to keep us up to date about where you are in the new construction process. Let us know about your critical junction points and how that's working out for you, so that we can continue to learn and grow with you. And just know that we as a team on this channel support you and what you're going through, and I really appreciate you sharing with us so that we can all learn from your experiences as well. Now, I hope that's been helpful to you with what to ask the project manager. Make sure that if you have any other questions, that please let me know, and also feel free to hit me up directly. Again, contact info below. So then we had Jeff Stamper that had watched For Sale by Owners, 6 Costly Mistakes to Avoid. Now, Jeff definitely has an opinion here about For Sale by Owners, and I can certainly appreciate it because that's very typical of For Sale by Owners. He said 6% listing commission is totally ridiculous. In a hot market, all they have to do is do a little bit of paperwork and boom, the house is sold. Which would amount to $16,000 at 6% in his case. However, as a for sale by owner, he can sell for the same price, get an attorney to do the paperwork, and pay a buyer agent 2%. There are all kinds of resources out there for sale by owners to use without having to pay such huge amounts of money for someone to do the paperwork that they can do on their own. Again, this is in a hot market. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, Jeff. I certainly can respect and appreciate your point of view on that. The reality is that even in a strong seller's market, as we're coming off of and we're going into a stabilized market, roughly 1/3 of all homes that get listed on the market, even with agents, will still expire, meaning they leave the market without selling. So when we're looking at for sale by owners, and I believe in that video, I had also provided additional links in the show more description below about research and statistics the National Association of Realtors put out. thinking that, okay, it looks like we cut out a little bit there. So we were talking about Jeff's comment about the for sale by owner situation, and I was going into the NAR research and statistics, which definitely have very solid facts from consensus taken around the United States that for sale by owners will sell normally for about $180,000 for a like and kind property, while an agent will sell for $240,000. That's a difference of $60,000. With a difference of $60,000, that's far greater than a total 6% total listing commission that he's indicating in his comment. So it's something to think about and something to consider. Now, thinking that real estate is just about putting a house on the market and doing some paperwork is fallacious. It really is. Now, I can certainly understand and respect your opinion and definitely appreciate you sharing with us. In reality of selling a property, it takes a much more robust game, even in a strong seller's market. There's a lot of planning. A lot of people that go on the market that don't plan don't succeed. And sometimes, yeah, they get lucky. But if you list a home and it looks like crap, guess what? People don't like crappy houses. If you have crappy listing photography, guess what? It drives down the interest in your property, if at all. And I mean, that's just being real and that's just being honest. Definitely want to go back and take a look at that study. Now, that's not saying that for sale by owners don't succeed. They do. They succeed about 8% of the time statistically. So if you take 100% out, well, 8 out of 100 for sale by owners will succeed in selling their property on their own. Number one thing that most for sale by owners have difficulty with is negotiating the value of their property, because you're going to have a buyer agent that's going to go in there and be pretty savvy. And you're going to have a buyer agent that if you're offering 2%, they might be telling you 3% or whatever, or maybe the buyer's making up the difference or something like that, right? It's always a negotiation. You're for sale by owner. You have no one representing your best interest but yourself in that case. And if you're working with a savvy buyer agent, they'll be happy to help you because they're representing the best interest of their client. At the same time, don't think that they're not going to be negotiating that price down on you. And if you don't play ball, your home isn't the only one in the area. It's not the only for sale by owner. It's not the only option that that buyer has to purchase. Even in a hot market, there are other options. And if your price is off mark from what it should be selling for and fair market value, then that's another big thing. Is number one is like pricing issues of for sale by owners, pricing too high, not understanding the process or the paperwork involved. Now, I don't want to discourage you if you're watching this as a for sale by owner and it's something that you're considering or thinking about. It's all good. Look, 8% of the time, you're going to succeed. That's statistically proven. 92% of the time, not so much. 92% of the time for sale by owners will go on the list with a listing agent to go ahead and represent their best interest, market the property, and get it sold for them. So all the same, Jeff, certainly respect the fact that you shared your opinion with us and put it out there. And thank you so much for doing so. Then we have JELOVE T that watched The Truth About Paying Off Collections to Boost Your Credit Score. JELOVE says, he never answered the question. You didn't even tell your clients about the deletion letter. Okay. So JELOVE, you gave me this comment 13 hours ago. Cool. So I did answer the question about the truth of it. If you'd watched the entire video, you go back to minute marker, I believe it's between 7:30, 8:30 in the video. I did point blank answer the question about the truth about paying off collections to boost your credit score and some different information. I also suggested that people get in touch with a credit counselor or a loan officer to review their options with them and further advise them on how to get things done. In other videos that I've made about collections and boosting credit scores, I have discussed deletion letters. I may not have discussed it in that one per se, but I certainly have discussed it in many other videos about the deletion letter. If I didn't mention it in that video, it would have been for a reason. And it's because deletion letters can sometimes sound easier to get than they really are. By working with a credit repair specialist or a credit counselor or a local loan officer, they'll be able to assist you in giving you advice and guidance on how to get a deletion letter. I am happy that you brought up the deletion letter though, because that is obviously a critical component of boosting a credit score and making sure it's not counting against your credit. So all the same, JELOVE, I'm taking a couple of different things from the comment. Number one, definitely appreciating the fact that you shared your thoughts with us. And number two, that maybe I should do a better job whenever I'm making videos about that of mentioning deletion letters, kind of like I do whenever I talk about buying a home with debt to income ratios, bringing it up all the time and consistently bringing up buyer closing costs, because it might have been the first video that you watched that I've made. And I definitely would suggest if you're looking for other credit repair tips to go back to the credit repair playlist and check it out. And you'll hear me talk about the deletion letters. And in fact, I do have on a couple of those videos a loan officer with me talking about the process of getting deletion letters as well. All the same, JELOVE, really appreciate you being here and certainly appreciate you commenting on the video and sharing with us. If you're wondering about the truth about paying off collections to boost your credit score, depending on how you're doing it, it may or may not boost your credit score. Every situation is unique, and that's probably the reason why I may not have mentioned the deletion letter in that case, because it's very unique. Without having further insight into a person's financial circumstances, it may or may not be beneficial to them. So that's where you need to talk to the credit counselor, somebody that does it full time, somebody that is what they do, or a local loan officer to help guide you through that process. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for being here and thank you for the comment. Andy Cao, thanks, Andrew. Our options design studio options are already locked in with the contract, I believe. And yes, we are going to ask the process about bringing in our own home inspector. Good on you, Andy. Really happy to hear that about your own home inspector. Critically important. Just helped a gentleman close yesterday. Matter of fact, found me on YouTube. We just closed on his new construction. We've been in contract for like 5 months. And it was a conversation that we had 5 months ago, and it was a damn good conversation and a damn good thing that we did. He hired his home inspector. The home inspector and I were in contact. He did a brilliant job. The home inspector was absolutely brilliant in the way that he worked with the assistant construction superintendent and the superintendent of the property. And he was very, very diligent and very, very thorough in his reports. And anything that he notated did get corrected. And there were definitely some things that needed correcting despite the inspections that the superintendent and the construction workers themselves provide. It's having that extra layer with a fresh set of eyes that's not seeing the property every day, go in and inspect the property with fresh eyes, with a fresh perspective, representing your best interest, extremely, extremely smart. So I'm glad to hear that you're looking up on that. Okay. So then you said, I'll also make sure I ask everything in a written detailed breakdown in terms of the timeline. Thanks so much. As always, Andrew, I'll update you next week with hopefully good news. Looking forward to the update, Andy, and certainly appreciate you being here. Absolutely enjoy the fact that you're here all the time with us. And it's wonderful to have consistent engagement with our community. So thank you so much, Andy, for sharing with us. Darrin Carter, Andy, we had an issue with my wife's credit score going down. She was removed from the loan. She was upset by it and the fact that she will not be on the loan. I'm happy to say that we close on our house today at 3 p.m. Central Time. Congratulations, Darrin, on getting ready to close on your home today at 3 p.m. Central Time. That's coming up pretty quick. So here in a couple hours, right? 3 hours, you're going to be able to close. So I'm super excited for you and your family. I was just talking about your situation, actually, Darrin. Let me go back to it. Oh, okay, there we go. So you were talking about the things that you took away from the 9 things every new homeowner needs. And you were sharing with us about getting the 8-foot and 16-foot ladder so you can rip off that ugly TV antenna. I'm right there with you, bud. So certainly appreciate that. And I'm glad to hear that you're closing today. So you're actually closing a couple days earlier than you had shared with us. So I'm super excited for you guys to get the keys. Well, yeah, it is funny, but I mean, it's one of those things that are real. I mean, those things are a pain in the butt and they're ugly. And I mean, we don't need them anymore. I mean, a lot of us watch streaming television anymore anyways. And, you're watching YouTube. A lot of people do. So it's really, really cool, though. I'm super excited for your family, Darrin. Hit us up. Let us know any questions that you have as you go into home ownership. And I definitely would suggest getting on the home ownership playlist now and watching that playlist moving forward. I'll be resuming active videos here shortly with the recorded content that I've been making. And 2019, to kind of give you an idea of what I'm thinking here, I think I'm going to slow down the pace a little bit, to be honest with you, because 6 videos a week are a lot. In addition to being a trusted real estate advisor and everything full time, until I have a video editor that I can help edit the videos, which is pretty time consuming for me. So shooting the videos is the easiest part, editing the videos where the time is at. So that being said, next year I'm thinking of just keeping the home buying, the home selling, and the home ownership series going moving forward in the 2019. So that's 3 a week, but obviously we're definitely keeping the live sessions because this is one of the most amazing times of the week for me with the channel and for engaging with you. I love the ability to engage with our teammates live if they're available to join us, answering the comments directly. that come in over the last 7 days. It's an amazing feeling to have you guys here, have you guys engaging. It's just, you know, I really want to know more about you and your story and what you guys would like to see and what's most beneficial to you. So that being said, you know, definitely keep watching, definitely get on the homeownership playlist. There'll be more videos coming out soon about that stuff. So, oh, one more question. How long does it take for the mortgage company, excuse me, how long does it take for the mortgage to go on my credit reports? Generally about 1 to 2 months. It might be 1 to 2 months before you notice it. It could be faster, to be honest with you. It just depends on how they report it. Now, what I can share with you is the fact that since you don't owe a mortgage for generally the first 45 to 60 days after you close, then what you'll want to do is you'll also want to ask and just reconfirm with your loan officer whether they're selling your note, and if they are, what is the process moving forward, and whom do you pay whenever it comes due. In between that cycle, that 45 to 60 days, your new mortgage service provider, if they are selling your mortgage note, should be reaching out to you. So don't throw away all the mail that you're going to get, because you are going to get bombarded with a whole bunch of nonsense mail. So you want to watch some of those videos I've made about real estate scams and things to stay away from right after you close as well. Just to give you a quick heads up, you'll get hit up for about $80 to $90 of people saying, hey, we want to sell you the deed to your property. The reality is, since you're getting ready to close today at 3 p.m. Central Time, you should already have a copy of that, and you would have received a copy of that when you signed your title documents earlier today or yesterday, whenever you signed your title documents. And other than that, when you do get your official recordation and the official documents showing that you do own that property, the title company will actually be mailing that to you in the next 1 to 4 weeks. So in other words, don't waste your money because you're getting it for free. Just being real with you on that. So that being said, you'll probably notice it within the next month, whenever it just depends on where we are in the cycle for the credit companies and when they pick up and update your records. All the same, it's a good thing. It's definitely going to help you. Having a mortgage and making consistent payments on it's definitely going to boost your credit score really good. And I'm really happy that even though your wife is upset that she didn't get an opportunity to be on the loan, she should still be on the title though, right? And she can still help you pay the mortgage all the same. But the biggest thing that I'm happy about here is that by losing one of the people that were applying on the mortgage, that you were still able to qualify for the house that you wanted. Because sometimes when people get it removed from a mortgage, they lose the house that they were looking for because they can no longer qualify for it. So I am excited that you're able to keep it, and super pumped up that you're getting the keys today at 3 p.m. Central Time. So anyways, bud, have a good day with that and make it your own. I look forward to hearing back from you in the future. Definitely keep us going on. Oh, plus you let her pick the house. Of course you did, Darrin, because you're a smart guy. You know the old adage, happy wife, happy life. So of course you let her pick the house. I mean, you probably picked the garage and she picked the house. Am I wrong? I mean, most of the time I show homes to families, and it is an LOL, absolutely. But most of the time I show families homes and the husband goes right to the garage and to the backyard. Wife goes right to the kitchen, right to the master bedroom, almost like she bypasses the master bathroom and goes straight into the closet to check out and make sure she's got enough space in the closet. So, I mean, that's pretty normal stuff there. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So for you, it was the garage and the basement. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that she got to pick the house about what she wanted. You were able to pick out the house that had the right size garage and the right size basement for you. So awesome. T. Hayes, you're appreciated as well, and I learned so much and really appreciate the transparency and straightforwardness associated with your vids. Awesome. So T. Hayes, thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciate your support, and thank you for joining us today. Yeah, you know, it's really about being transparent and really about being straightforward. I just want to touch on that for a moment because that is why I've made so many videos so far and why I really amped up in 2018 with making 6 videos a week until here recently. And, you know, right now the channel is like around 450 videos at large. So it was about increasing transparency. It was about teaching people what to expect from a trusted real estate advisor, to get real with themselves about home buying and home selling and home owning, and really exposing the truth about something that a lot of people consider scary. And that goes back to the fear. You know, it's just false evidence appearing real. The only way to remove it is with the knowledge and information. And my thought was, by making videos on it, it would give somebody an opportunity to see someone chat live about it. That obviously, you know, we know each other from the comments and we know each other from the live sessions, T. Hayes, but it doesn't mean that we know each other personally, and that you know, obviously you and I have not worked together to help you purchase your property. So it's a good way of giving people solid information that don't feel like they're being sold, or feel like, you know, the only reason I'm saying something is because I'm trying to sell you something, because I'm not. I'm trying to share information with you to help you make a well-informed decision, which sometimes seems counterintuitive to people. And they're like, well, why would Andrew do that? Why would he put in so much time and energy into the YouTube channel to help people with this? It's because I fundamentally believe in helping people. It's the same reason why I had joined the Marine Corps and served our country. I believe it was my patriotic duty to do for our country. So it was one of those things that, you know, is extremely important to me. I really care about you, and I really care about everyone watching this channel, and I care about people at large, even if I never get the opportunity to personally meet them. I want to see people succeed. I want to see people achieve the dreams that they have in their life. And the only way to do that is to get real with yourself and be honest with yourself and have the right kind of information to make well-informed decisions and understand the pros and cons of the decisions as it pertains to real estate all the way around. And, you know, that's what these videos are about. That's what this channel's about. And I'm looking forward to, as our channel continues to learn and grow, hopefully into the millions and tens of millions and all that fun stuff, right? Because it will be an indicator to me that we're really helping a lot of people make well-informed decisions. And I believe it'll keep us away from people making bad decisions that led into like 2008 type situations. And that's definitely one of the goals too, is helping people understand how real estate can benefit them as an investment into the future, and real estate can benefit their retirement accounts into the future as well, at the same time as providing a roof over their head and peace of mind of ownership. So, you know, T. Hayes, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you pick up on the transparency and the straightforwardness. I really do. And thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for letting me know how the videos have helped you, and, you know, what you're taking away from them. Thank you so much. So Darrin Carter, Andy, my brother told me it's okay to grow up. You're married, get a house. That's funny. Okay. I'm sorry, Darrin. You caught me off guard with that one. That's pretty funny. Andy, my brother told me it's okay to grow up. You're married, get a house. Absolutely, get a house, right? You're grown up. Even if you're not married, get a house, right? I mean, if it's your situation, you know you're going to be in the same place for 5 to 7 years, you might as well. Because the sooner that you have that conversation with yourself, especially if you're in your 20s or something, I mean, why the heck not? I've had a lot of conversations with people that are in their 30s and 40s. They're like, Andrew, you know, if I had just known in my 20s, I should have just been honest and got a mortgage back then, because I would have already had my house almost paid off, or it would be paid off. I'm like, yeah, it would. But this is part of us as human beings being human, and we live and we learn. So we try to share the experience on this channel of everybody, your experiences, my experiences, you know, and working with families in my own personal life as well. You know, the experience that I've had buying and selling real estate as well, so that we can hopefully inspire a younger generation to make smarter decisions than we have, and at the same time start making some really damn smart ones now that we're at an age that we're like, oh, we could have done this better if we could rewind the clock. But since we can't, we can always move forward with the knowledge and the information to make well-informed decisions going forward. So you're absolutely right, Andy. That was hilarious. Thank you for sharing that with us. Andy Cao, high five. We need more people like you, Andrew. Thank you for that, Andy. We need more people that are just honest and care about others. We're always stronger together than we are not. We have far more in common than we don't. And, you know, one of my favorite ways of saying this, and I'll break it down for you real quick, is I used to always say, when we'd say we're stronger together than we are not, you know, something I've been saying for many years before I got my real estate license, before I started a YouTube channel. It used to be like, hey, you know, we're all part of the 5-finger tribe. Well, then, you know, obviously when I was active duty, we went into the combat zone. Not everybody has 5 fingers anymore. And maybe some people are born with birth defects and don't have a 5 fingers. So the way that I thought that would prove beneficial, and you might want to use this too, Andy, or anybody else watching this, is that, hey, if there was somebody out there that cut you, you would bleed what color? You'd bleed red. If that same person came and cut me, what color would I bleed? I'd bleed red. So being that we both have the same color blood, we both bleed red, means that we're already more alike than we are not. We may have different political views. We may have different religious ideologies. We may have different perspective on life and thought processes. But by understanding that we're already more similar than we are not, and we're more alike than we are not, that's the foundation of respect. And when we have the foundation of respect, we can learn to understand and to accept those things that we can't understand about somebody else, to have a productive conversation, as opposed to incite divisiveness, and as opposed to inciting riots and inciting fear in people. We can inspire creativity to create positivity. And when we create more positivity, we all benefit from a better world together. I mean, there's so much more to me than simply just being a trusted real estate advisor. I mean, different things go through my head all the time about, how could I make different kinds of content or different kinds of videos where they would be positive and energetic and inspire people, and really break it down. We only got this one life, and we only got this one world. We need to take care of it. If we don't, it's not going to be here for us, and we'll be just another species that ended up dying out, right? Because we destroyed ourselves. There's no reason that we should, as a human race, be destroying each other and destroying ourselves. There is every reason to use the intellect that we have and to use our wonderful relationships we have with other people to grow and to improve the world together, and to grow and to improve life together. It's something I'm extremely, extremely passionate about. And again, it goes back to just wanting to help people. If you think of all the money that's been spent on wars, right? All the money, all the tragedy, all the tragic loss of life. And, if you're just tuning in and you don't know this about me, I'm a retired combat Marine. I have been to combat, and it was 2 years of my life that I spent in a combat zone. So I understand it from a first-hand perspective, and I can tell you that it's not something that I ever hope on, wish on anybody. I really don't. So if we took all that money that was spent on conflict, and we took it and we started off with a foundation that we're more alike than we are not, by virtue of we both bleed red, just imagine what productive conversations we could have had if we would have started off with respect, despite different points of view, despite different opinions. We're too smart just to argue. So why not use it for something more beneficial? That money that we have wasted all these years, wars are normally fought over two things. They're fought over religion, and they're fought over money. I mean, that's the reality. If you look back through the beginning of time, those are the two biggest things. It's all about power and money, and that's why wars get fought. In the meantime, the average people, you and I, and most of us in this world, are the ones that are on the losing end of the stick, getting screwed over. If we took all that money that was spent on that, we could usher in an age of enlightenment and innovation, and see us move forward in a way that would be productive and constructive, not only for us in the here and now, but for many future generations to come. And I really believe in that age of enlightenment and innovation. It's something that I'm always thinking about. How can I make different kinds of content? I mean, my passion would be to, in addition to real estate, but even bigger than real estate, my passion would be to be able to form and design companies around the ability to improve the world and to provide more than a livable wage to help people. So, it's just different things. I guess we'll see what comes of it. Until then, I just work on being the best trusted real estate advisor I can be every single day, always be honest with people. And that's what I work on. It's just is what it is. I just try to be the best person I can day by day moving forward. And hopefully, the videos that I make and our engagement and the live sessions and stuff, hopefully they cause you to have a good day. And hopefully, because you smiled and enjoyed a good time, you turn around and you smile, you open the door for somebody else, you help somebody else, and that turns around, and now we have an accumulation effect of positivity being creative and growing. All it takes is one person to smile. That's all it takes. When someone smiles at you, it's hard not to smile back if it's a genuine, heartfelt smile. So it's just a lot of things on my mind. So anyways, I really appreciate it all the same. Andy, I appreciate your support. Joby3Cute, good afternoon, Andrew. Good afternoon, Joby3Cute. Thank you so much. Darrin Carter, but Andy, the new generation, millennials don't understand or respect anyone. I see it every day here in Chicago. It's an interesting observation there, and I'll share this with you. Every generation has their own pros and cons. Every generation has their own thought process, and I want you to think about something and think about it closely. The reality of generational shifts and the thought process of a generation depends on our formative years when we're young. Most of our world opinion will be starting off in the ages of 2 to 5 years old. It's when our brains are like a sponge. It's when we learn the most, or in between ages 1 and 3, and ages 2 to 5 is when we really start developing into the person that we're going to be as we learn more as we move forward in life. So if you have millennials that grew up, for example, with technology and the internet and everything else, that's all they know. Whereas your generation, my generation, know a world without it and have now adapted to the technology that now exists. It's not always that they don't understand or respect anyone, it's that they may not have a frame of reference or an understanding of themselves yet. Now, I have worked with a lot of millennials, and I can tell you they're extremely brilliant. I have seen some very industrious and very respectful millennials. In fact, on my YouTube channel, what you're watching right now, the largest single demographic that watch this channel are millennials at 47% of the demographic that watch this channel. The next largest demographic are ages 35 to 45, which is my generation, and coming in with about 30%. So then we have Gen Z, which is absolutely amazing right now. Gen Z is so young, and the average age of a first-time home buyer is currently 33 years old. So Gen Z is well outside of that mold. But what I find interesting is that there's been a slow increase of Gen Z watching the channel at 8% of the overall amount of people watching the channel, which is actually in conjunction with those that are over age 65 watching, with age 55 to 65 then being the third largest generation that comprise who watch this channel the most. So, but millennials definitely take the cake. So that suggests to me, regardless of what one's opinion may be of millennials, that millennials are becoming increasingly educated. They're increasingly smart. They're doing more and more research into what they're doing. And you also have to think that a lot of millennials grew up with the 2008 crisis when they were kids, and that definitely probably devastated their worldview and made them very, very nervous in different ways. And they watch all the different things going on with politics and stuff. If you rewind the clock back to when you and I were their age, how would we think of the world differently? So again, by first understanding that we all bleed red provides the foundation for respect. And that will help us to understand. It's not that we may necessarily agree with each other 100% of the time, all the time. It's not necessarily the case, and it doesn't need to be the case. What does need to be the case is the fact that we seek to understand each other and accept what we don't understand. I have worked with a lot of millennials that are extremely respectful. I've worked with some people my age that are extremely disrespectful, and vice versa. I think that has something more to do with an individual's character than it does necessarily a generation. All the same, I certainly appreciate, your point of view, Darrin, and certainly respect it. And, I know there are others that share that with you. As far as I see it on my side and watching the demographics that watch my channel and stuff, and my observations and engagement with people, I just think that people are people at the end of the day. And I think that with people being people, it's just part of it is understand we make good decisions, we make bad decisions, and it comes down to that understanding and acceptance. It's really what I believe it's about. So yeah, you said our 7-year-old is a computer genius. They have laptops in their classroom. Wow. Yeah, exactly. I'm really curious to see what Gen Z ends up doing, because, you have artificial intelligence, machine learning, and everything else going on right now. I'm really curious to see what Gen Z ends up doing here in 20, 30 years when they come of age and they're in their productive lifespan and their careers. Who knows? We might be in a Star Trek generation where, all of a sudden these things that we consider sci-fi are now reality. Because if you think about it, the phone that you talked into on Dick Tracy back in the day, right, is actually a real thing now with those smartwatches. So, and talking into something, like a phone, what I'm filming this live session on and what you might be watching this on right now is sci-fi 30 years ago, but reality today. So it's kind of curious. Love to see how that works out in the future. Andy Cao, never has a truer word been spoken. God bless. Likewise, my friend. Thank you so much. Tish R, I still watch your videos even while in escrow. Tish R, thank you for watching my videos even while you're in escrow. I have a whole bunch of videos that I've created about the escrow process. You might want to check them out. It might help you know about where you are in the process right now and also answer the additional questions you may have. After you close, Miss Tish R, please go on to the homeownership playlist and please make sure that you continue watching those videos because I do make content for home ownership as well. And be sure to share the channel with other people that you know that it would help out. All the same, Tish, I'm super excited that you're in escrow on your new home right now and super happy that you joined us today. Thank you for being here. Tim Rivard, how long does the underwriting process usually take? The underwriting process, Tim, great question, by the way, and thank you for joining in. Tim, the underwriting process could take anywhere between like 3 and 7 days. It just really depends on if there's any conditions and what conditions, if any, might be needing to be satisfied and how fast you get the information over request that the underwriter requests of you. So it really doesn't have to take a long time. They'll normally review your file, kick out what are called conditions to your loan, maybe just updated bank statements, updated pay stubs, or whatever the case may be, or maybe if you have big deposits or there were transfers of money going on, understanding what happened there. The faster you get that information over to them, the quicker they'll be able to do the final underwrite. Right afterwards, you'll be getting ready to get it what's called a clear to close and getting ready to close on your new home. That is a great question, but in general, you can look at 3 to 5 business days. So that's why it said probably up to 7 if you include the weekend as calendar days, but generally 3 to 5 business days will see it done. Sometimes underwriting can get done in 1 to 2 days. Again, just depends on how many conditions are in the file and how fast you get over any additional information that underwriter may have for you. LaRon Hall, hey Andrew, well spoken. This is a great chat. Keep up the great work. LaRon, thank you so much for being here. For reference, anyone watching right now, LaRon is like, we're coming up a year and some change away, right, LaRon, before we help you buy your new home. He's moving to the Vegas area, found me on YouTube, obviously, and we're going to help him and his family buy a new home. Now, really fun thing about LaRon is that he has already agreed to share his home buying experience with us on camera when the time comes for him. And I'm really, really excited to make that video with him and his family, from our first buyer consultation down to what we're looking for, to showing homes with him and his family, to working through every step of the way in like a real estate docu-series or documentary reality show, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be freaking amazing and awesome. I'm really, really excited to do that with LaRon, and I just really, really respect the fact that he's on board with all of that. So thank you for LaRon for being here, and thank you for that, by the way. So then we have Tish R, already have, thanks, and I will. Thank you so much, Tish, greatly appreciate that. Darrin Carter, they asked for my 401k statements. Okay, the faster that, yeah. So Darrin's getting ready to close today, Tim, so that's a good thing that he brought up. So in his case, he needed to provide his retirement accounts, 401k accounts to get that done, to make that happen. So I'm glad to see that that worked out. And I'm glad that you shared that with us, Darrin, because you're absolutely right. They will ask for anything and everything. Tim Rivard, appreciate your videos. They have been very helpful. Thanks, Tim. Thank you for joining us today. Greatly appreciate you being here and sharing with us. Tish R, nice and good luck. LaRon, awesome. So, Tish R, going through the NACA program, so I have an insight. Lay it on us, Tish. Tell us what we got with the NACA program. I know that you'd asked me about this before. I shared with you that, matter of fact, that I have this nice little book right here in my drawer about the NACA program, but I'm not overly familiar with it because I've never worked with a family with this program. I know that it helps some, but I know that a lot of other people try to find another way as well. So curious to see what you have to say. You need patience and a lot of it. That was one of my understandings about the NACA program, Tish. Yes, and it was kind of crazy. So really appreciate that. Tish, what other than having a patience and a lot of it, what are the key takeaways that you learned from the NACA program seminar that you might have attended that you would like to share with us? Let us know. I'll go ahead and read them out. Luckily, you have no debt, so it's easier for you. Awesome. Let me see. While we're waiting for Tish to chime in a little bit more there, let's go. Joby Cute. How successful are tax appeals? property tax appeals. I see that you clarify that. So it just depends on your county. To be honest with you, each municipality has control of that. Each county controls their state and local taxes, including the property taxes, and they would be the ones that might have more information about on how successful tax appeals are. It would largely depend on why you're doing a tax appeal and on what grounds. Keep in mind that when the real estate market's appreciating, normally your property taxes are going up whenever the reassessments are done by whatever percentage your county is using for your tax rate in your specific county. That being said, it would probably be a little bit difficult with a tax appeal if the property values are increasing in your location. Now, if property values are decreasing in your location, you may have better odds of having a successful tax appeal. It really probably going to depend on the circumstances involved with it. If it's something that you feel very, very strongly about, Joby 3 Cute, then you might want to contact a real estate attorney, learn more about what your options are, or contact a tax accountant and ask them for any guidance or suggestions they may have to further guide you with the tax appeal process for your local area. That is actually a really wonderful question. I'm glad that you brought it up. Obviously, with the tax code being changed so much underneath the current administration, not being able to offset as much of the property taxes as you could have previously is really a detriment to a lot of people out there. So I'm glad that you share that with us. It's a very real concern, and I think it's going to get very real here come April next year when people are paying those taxes. So let's see. Tishar, go to the forums, naka.com. Okay, I got it. So go to forums.naka.com. So for everybody that's curious about the NACA program right now, Tish is sharing with us the actual website. Forums, forums.naka, NACA.com. It will prepare you for what to come, but it works. I was qualified on the 3rd of August and now about to close. Congratulations on that. I'm super happy that program worked out for you, Tish, and now you're going to be able to own your new home. That's exciting stuff. T. Hayes, Tish, please share a lot of info on the program. We're here in Los Angeles, and it just seems too good to be true. Oh, wow. Congrats, Tish. You will read horror stories, which do happen. Tish is saying you will read horror stories, which do happen, but it has its benefits. Yes. Yeah, that's where the big trade-offs are with the NACA, and that's why it's like, it really depends on your circumstances and your situation. So obviously we have right here on our channel live right now, Tish, who we do know the NACA program has benefited, and she's getting ready to close on her new home. So we know that it works. And definitely go back to the link that Tish shared with us, forums.naka.com, learn some more information, make sure that you attend a seminar. And anybody that, oh, wow, Tish. So, backing up, T. Hayes, you saw that, right? Tish is also in Los Angeles. Awesome. So you both are in Los Angeles, both looking at the NACA program. So that's really cool. So, you know, that's awesome stuff. It's a small world, a big world, but a small world all the same, right? Darrin Carter says, congrats. So, hey, absolutely. Everybody's excited. You know, Darrin's getting his keys here in about an hour or two. And Tish is going to be getting her keys here soon. T. Hayes is going to kick off the process and be able to get closed on his new home sometime soon. We know that LaRon will be closing in a couple years or a year and a half from now. So everybody is on the right track and everybody is doing wonderful things. And I'm super excited to be part of that. And I'm super excited to be bringing everything together today in this conversation and through the video conversations that we have with the content on the channel. Anyways, we've been officially going, I believe this is probably coming up on the longest, if not the longest session, not only live session, but even of recorded content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back to my day here. I'm certainly wishing you guys each a beautiful and amazing day as well. And of course, in between now and next time, I'm wishing you a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. Look forward to chatting with you again next week. Hit me up in the comment section. Hit me up direct if you like. So if you have anything on your mind, then we can go ahead and put it on next week's live session. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy a beautiful day.